Well, hello there. Thank you for joining me for the latest edition of Telile 24/7. I'm your host, Adam Cook. On this week's show, we're speaking with Mulgrave Town Councilor Tanya Snow, who was just acclaimed for a second term, and we'll talk to her about what she feels Mulgrave could achieve in the years to come. We'll also take a look at the community of Point Tupper and how it's become a battleground between Richmond County and the town of Port Hawkesbury concerning fire service provision to the community. And we'll look at the latest efforts being made to bring new physicians to the town of Port Hawkesbury, Richmond County, Inverness County, and several other parts of the Strait area. But first this week, an apology. During last week's rundown of municipal election candidates for the Strait area, I inadvertently mentioned that Archie McLaughlin had not run for public office prior to this year's attempt to become the mayor of Port Hawkesbury. Well, it turns out that I was wrong on that count. Mr. McLaughlin did run as the provincial election candidate for the riding of Inverness South for the Progressive Conservative Party in 1988. So I do apologize to Mr. McLaughlin and to our Telile viewers. Moving on to this week's agenda, it is a real milestone and a breakthrough for all of us here at Telile Community Television. That's because we've received approval from Richmond Municipal Council to record and broadcast the council meetings, even when they're virtual meetings. So that means we got to be part of the Richmond Municipal Council Committee of the Whole meeting this week. So not only did we get council approval for the meeting, we got to record it, and we are sharing it on our YouTube channel. You can see the whole thing, but I'll give you several highlights from this week's meeting on this week's show. Richmond Council meetings had been held virtually since the spring, when the municipality shut down its council chambers and its main municipal building in Arishat in response to COVID-19 and the resulting social distancing protocols. However, the municipality did not allow for these meetings to be recorded and broadcast as they had when meetings were previously held in the council chamber. That changed following an official request from Telile's board of directors. However, in an unusual twist, District 1 Councilor James Goyesh used the opportunity to suggest that it may be time to reopen the council chambers for public meetings again, since social distancing restrictions are easing up in Nova Scotia.
I think this could solve the whole problem of the televising our meetings. I don't see why. Don, you can correct me. Is that true that we can go back? And I think we should go back as long as we follow the protocol of the healthcare system. There's no reason why we can't have our meetings in the chamber right now.
The province did indicate that we may hold our meetings, if we like, in person. Notwithstanding that, if we don't do that, then obviously we would hold them virtually. We would have to rearrange the council chamber, and as you stated earlier, we do have a limit of 45, but there certainly wouldn't be, we wouldn't be able to have 45 people in there and conform to the regulations set down by the province. So we would probably rearrange it to a certain number. I'm not really sure how we could do that. Just measure, I guess, and put seats where they need to go. And then we could just let in people as they come, and then stop when we reach our limit.
I think it's worth a try, because I don't think I ever seen 45. It doesn't happen too often that you have 45 people from the public attending our council meetings. So I think it's worth a try to see if it works. Would be a lot better than the virtual meetings. And I think it's time that we try to do something, and if it doesn't work, then we revert back to the virtual meeting. That's all.
Councillor Goyesh, we had a discussion this morning, a couple of us, and CAO and I, and the reason with wanting to go virtual tonight was because we weren't sure of how many. We heard there was a lot of emails and requests. We were going to put it on our website, so we didn't know how many were coming. So we didn't want to be turning people back at the door with potentially having a limit, or to limit the number of people coming in, because we're not sure. Initial numbers we had were 10, and we thought with 5 councillors and 2 staff and Telile in there, that would limit who could come in. So, over the next week or two, maybe we can make a decision for the September 28th meeting, and we can decide to have that one in person or virtually. But we'll continue to look at the numbers and the protocol that the province sets, and maybe we will have it in person. But we'll keep the public informed anyway somehow.
Well, we never have a big number of people at the council chambers, and I don't know how many people are on this virtual council meeting tonight. I'm sure there's not 45.
No, there's 35 right now. It's showing in on the
Well,
meeting.
35.
Yeah.
Okay, 35. That means if we look at our chamber and see if we can, and I don't think you're going to get 35 at our meetings, every meeting we have in council. I'm saying we try it. If it doesn't work, we revert back to the virtual council meetings. It's just that people have to understand that we're into a pandemic, and that's why we're going virtual. I don't like it. I'd rather have it where we go into council chambers and the public have a chance to come in and view the meetings, and Telile has a chance to televise our meetings. And I think that's very important for the public, for the seniors that can't attend these meetings, either virtual or in public. So that's why we have Telile broadcast our meetings. And I'm just saying it's worth a try. If it doesn't work, we go back to the virtual council meeting. It's just a matter of giving it a chance. Because now the protocol has changed and the regulations have changed. You're allowed up to 45 now. If we can accommodate 25, then I think that's great. I'll vote on the motion, yes, if we still go with the possibility of having our meetings in the chambers for the next meeting on a trial basis. If it doesn't work, I agree with the motion. Let's do it.
Question on the motion.
As I said, we'll decide over the next week what we're going to do.
Well, that's good. As long as we look at it, I agree with the motion. Nothing wrong with the motion.
Yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. On discussion. Questions been called. All in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Yes.
Motion carried.
One of the most contentious issues at Monday's Richmond County Committee of the Whole meeting was the concern about fire services being provided by the county to the community of Point Tupper. It took up a lot of time at the meeting, which is surprising given that when Councilor Jason McLean tried to get it on the agenda for the meeting, here's how councillors, particularly Councilor Gilbert Boucher from District 4, responded.
No, I don't want to add it. We've gone through that 16 times already.
Okay.
So Councilor Boucher doesn't feel the need that the residents, the businesses, and anybody who's employed in Point Tupper deserves to know what's going on with fire services there?
I think they've already been told that 50 times. That should be enough.
Now, before we pick up how this topic played out at Richmond Council's Committee of the Whole on Monday evening, a little background. In mid-June, Richmond councillors voted to end a one-year agreement with the town of Port Hawkesbury that had previously seen the county paying $50,000. At the time, county officials charged that the town was trying to increase this cost for its next one-year contract to just under $75,000 from $50,000. The county also stated that a consultant's report conducted on the cost of providing fire services to Point Tupper and other communities in Richmond County had just arrived at the council chambers in mid-May, and that the municipality needed more time to study this independent report before committing to a new contract with the town of Port Hawkesbury. Over the rest of June, conflicting statements were released by the town and the county over whether one was willing to meet with the other to try to hash out a new contract for the Port Hawkesbury Volunteer Fire Department. In the meantime, Richmond Municipality spoke with other service providers, including the West Bay Road Volunteer Fire Department and the Lewisdale and District Volunteer Fire Department, which had provided fire services to Point Tupper in previous years. The two sides came no closer to a deal over the summer. On July 29th, a virtual meeting took place between the county and the town to try to hash out a new deal for the Point Tupper area. At this particular meeting, the town claims that it offered the county a lower cost deal to be able to accommodate for Richmond's budgetary concerns. However, at that same meeting, Richmond officials announced that they had decided to go with Lewisdale to handle Point Tupper's issues. That led to a stinging rebuke from the town in a press release issued on the Labor Day weekend, which included a statement from the chief of the Port Hawkesbury Volunteer Fire Department, Curtis Doucette, that the department was immediately pulling out of the Strait Area Mutual Aid Association. In the statement released by Port Hawkesbury officials earlier this month, Chief Doucette said the Port Hawkesbury Department could no longer be expected to provide free service to the community of Point Tupper simply because of mutual aid requirements, which resulted in the Port Hawkesbury Department members' vote to remove the department from the Strait Area Mutual Aid Association on August 26th. All of this came to a head in Monday's Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond County, after McLean's attempt to get the fire services issue on the official meeting agenda was rejected by his fellow councillors. Warden Brian Marchand told McLean that the municipality was speaking with heavy industries in Point Tupper to try to develop a solution that would be approved by everybody. However, McLean persisted with his insistence that the issue should go on the official agenda, which generated this response from Councilor James Goyesh of District 1. From this point of our story, we're going to let the councillors speak for themselves for a couple of minutes.
Jason, with the items added, I got no problems with adding items to the agenda. Fire services in Point Tupper, we dealt with this. You were at that meeting. We had numerous meetings after that. Port Hawkesbury was at that meeting. We know exactly where we stand, exactly what the motion was made. You were there at that meeting. And why do we have to bring up the same item over and over again?
We're bringing up the same item. We're bringing up the same item because it was a public meeting where information was requested and it wouldn't be shared. And it's habitual here because it happens over and over again. And it's not the first time that I wanted to have something added to the agenda. There was 2 items. I actually went through, filled out the form. That was denied by the warden. He told me that I had 2 options. I have the option of filling out the form, which I did. And then he said, well, your other option is to get unanimous consent. And that went to all of one council before that got shut down, just as it did tonight.
I don't want to repeat the same thing over and over again at every meeting I go to. I don't know how much time you have, but the time I have, and I don't have to waste it. Even though I got nothing to do, I have lots to do. It's my time. I don't want to repeat every time I go to a meeting, come back with the same information. We dealt with this issue long time ago.
When was there a motion? When was there a motion about the fire services in Point Tupper?
As a matter of fact, the motion was not a motion. It was a meeting requested by Port Hawkesbury and Richmond Council.
Correct.
That we met, and we made a motion, as a matter of fact, at a council meeting where we dealt with the fire services, that we agreed to pay a certain amount of money. And then it was turned over, and Port Hawkesbury came back with an agreement they wanted us to sign for a different amount than what we had agreed with at our council meeting. Then subsequently, because we refused it, and we went with fire services with a fire department in Richmond County, not that we denied any fire services to Point Tupper region, we said, yes, we will supply fire protection to Point Tupper, and we did. And just the reason why we didn't want to pay the amount of money that Port Hawkesbury wanted us to pay does not mean we're not providing fire services. The thing is, I am here as a municipal councillor, and you're talking about protecting the tax dollars of Richmond County. That's exactly what we're doing by not going with Port Hawkesbury and giving them whatever they want to provide fire services to Point Tupper. They're in Richmond County. We said we would have fire protection. We do. We have the Louisdale Fire Department providing that service. We dealt with this, discussed it at the meeting, and everything was agreed to. And now we're coming back. You want to open this again?
On June 22nd, there was a unanimous motion made to refuse Port Hawkesbury's offer and for the CAO and the warden to negotiate with Richmond County departments. It was unanimous.
Yep.
Why would you even ask the question, was there a motion made? Now,
that was unanimous
on the line of transparency.
That was unanimous after the fact that I said my priority and my first item here is that we offer town of Port Hawkesbury rate that they had last year at the $50,000. So I said we check with the town of Port Hawkesbury, see if they are willing to do it, because I'm sure everybody can agree that the most efficient way to provide fire services to the people and the businesses in Point Tupper are by the people who will get there the fastest. They are going to provide the most efficient way of offering protection there. But we did not go to the town of Port Hawkesbury.
I'm very shocked at what you're saying. that it was after the fact. You wanted to offer 50. You're here, you're there, you don't even know what you want. The meeting June 22nd was to decide if we're accepting Port Hawkesbury's offer. The meeting of June the 1st is where we made the decision in the motion to offer them $50,000, not June 22nd.
Offer who $50,000?
Jason.
Offer who
Port
$50,000? Okay.
Port Hawkesbury.
So when they came back with the
June
75, was
22nd.
that negotiated?
Exactly. It was
Did we
not.
offer-
They did not negotiate.
Did we offer,
not-
after the $75,000, did we go back to them and ask them if they would do it for $50,000? After the 75, did we go back to them and ask them if they would do it for 50? That's a yes or no
Is
question.
that how you negotiate?
That's a yes or no
Is that
question.
how, so after June 22nd, was that motion made to go and speak to Port Hawkesbury about doing it for 50,000? Did you make
what I
that
asked you.
motion?
That,
Did
no,
you make
I
the
asked
motion?
you, did I make a motion, Brian? I'm asking you if we negotiated with the town of Port Hawkesbury, go with the $50,000 after they came to us with an ask of 75. Did we speak to them before we spoke to Louisdale?
Well, there was no motion made to do that.
Exactly.
Is that what you wanted us to do? Is that what you wanted us to do?
That's what I'm saying, Brian. No,
Here.
I've never refused to participate in a meeting with the town of Port Hawkesbury at all.
This
Never.
is not a meeting. This is not a meeting.
What I suggested was that the warden and the CAO for Richmond County contact and communicate with the mayor and the CAO for the town of Port Hawkesbury to try to work things out and come back to council. But you wouldn't do that. You refused to meet with them, and you said, wanted to know if all of council would meet. So I said, sure, I'm fine. If the meeting is going to happen, let me know the time and the place, or let me know the time, send me the link, I'll be there. Is it a requirement of my
Okay.
job that within 2 or 3 days that I have to respond to an email? If you were that desperate,
Okay.
you also know how to communicate with me. I don't always have my email with me on my county email. I have my phone. So if you needed an answer from me, you know how to get in touch with me.
On June 30th, you sent an email asking if we had spoke to West Bay Road Fire Department. So if you wanted us to speak to Port Hawkesbury, the email of June 30th asked if we had spoke to West Bay Road Fire Department.
Right?
Nothing to do with Port Hawkesbury. At no point did I ever get any indication from you to go back and speak to Port Hawkesbury.
Well, you weren't
No,
paying
I
attention.
texted you.
You weren't paying attention to the meeting when I suggested that right off the bat. As priority number one, that's who we check with.
So in a debate that has covered everything from the actual cost of fire service to Point Tupper to the individual communication skills of councillors, all the people and industries of Point Tupper know for now is that Point Tupper is going to be looked after by the Louisdale and District Volunteer Fire Department, and the two municipalities who are closest to this debate seem to be done talking both to each other and amongst themselves. For Telile 24/7, I'm Adam Cook. We'll have more from Richmond Council later on in the show. But right now, I'd like to shift our focus over to Mulgrave. You might remember that last week on the show, I interviewed Krista Luddington, formerly from Dundee, and now one of Mulgrave's new acclaimed town councillors. And another of the acclaimed councillors is back for her second council term. Her name is Tanya Snow, and we're going to introduce you to her on Telile 24/7 right now. First of all, Tanya, congratulations on making it to a second term for Mulgrave Council.
Thank you very much, Adam.
And thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. What was going through your mind when the nomination deadline passed and you'd found out that not only you had been acclaimed and you didn't have a campaign to worry about this time around, but that the entire council had been acclaimed?
Well, it was a relief. I was kind of conflicted on whether to actually go from host to host with the COVID-19 raging. And even though we have no cases here, I didn't want people to feel uncomfortable. So, and I think I'm out in the public so much that I think if I had to go around, I probably could have talked to a lot of constituents that way. But yes, it was a relief. And I was relieved that Bob reoffered. And I'm very excited about Krista Luddington and Crystal Durling. I can't wait to work with them. But it was a relief. It was a relief that now we can just go forward. I don't have to spend, weeks preparing and selling. So it was great.
Yeah, because there's something odd about a campaign sometimes. It feels almost like you have to sell yourself the way you would sell a product or sell a car or anything like that. So you
Exactly.
had to go through that during your first campaign back in 2016. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what was different between deciding to run then and deciding to run again now?
Oh my, how naive I was in 2016.
Oh, really?
Oh, I think I was not prepared um, at all. I had came into council right at the time where the amalgamation had kind of fell apart. And we were, I think, into year 7 of our water treatment plant that had been ongoing with problems and problems. And so I really came into council with a lot of these big problems already at the table that I really quickly had to do my homework and get up to speed. And very thankful for especially our mayor now, Ralph Hadley, who took me under his wing and said, this is, here's a synopsis of what went on for the last 7 years. And so I really had to learn a lot about water treatment and valves and pressures and a lot of things I didn't think I'd ever have to get my fingers into. And then again, with the amalgamation that had just kind of dissipated, and the town was really divided over that. So I came into a divided town, and there was a little conflict there going on. So I think once we got past all that and the community came together again and said, this is where we are. As Mulgravers, I feel like we're always behind the 8 ball. And I know a lot of people in town feel the same way. We're always the underdogs and we're always fighting. And it was just one more fight we had to win. So we just put it in front of us and we moved on. And so this year when it came up to reoffer, I had the conversation with my husband and said, because I think people forget that it's a family thing. I spent a lot of time away from home. And so I had to check to see if he was okay and if he supported me. And of course he supported me. And I worked really, really hard this last 4 years to accomplish a lot of big things going on in Mulgrave. And I want to keep going. I still have that fire and I still have that passion. And I think with Krista and Crystal coming in now, this new blood, these new opinions, these new, I'm so grateful that they're coming in and they can bring out the good in us. They can find the good, what really works for us. And we have such a tight-knit council now. And of course, it's going to change a little, but, change is not always bad. So I'm very excited for Krista. I worked with Krista on a few other different projects, and her energy is just stellar. She's kind of like yourself, Adam. She's a great entertainer. She loves people, and I can't wait to see what she brings to the table.
I know she's worked hard on a number of different initiatives since she and her husband Jay and their children arrived in Mulgrave just a few years ago. She had considered running for council before and finally made the go ahead, and all of a sudden she's with you on council now. So
I know.
yeah.
I know. I spoke to her. We texted back and forth prior to her putting her nomination in, and as well, Crystal as well too. She contacted me, asked some questions, of course, and I was more than willing to. And I don't, sugarcoat. I told there's rough days, but there's good days, and I'm glad that there are a younger voice coming to the table. And, I'm middle aged, and some of our other councils are middle aged or older. So it's nice to get that fresh, young perspective and what's important to somebody with a young family or a young couple living in town. So I'm really excited. Really, I can't wait.
That's marvelous. I want to ask you a little bit about the outgoing mayor, if you don't mind. You mentioned that Ralph Hadley had taken you under his wing when you first came to council, really helped give you a heads up on a lot of the issues that you would be dealing with. He's not reoffering. There are, of course, 2 seasoned candidates that are running now to replace him in Ron Chisholm, your former council colleague, and Lorne MacDonald, a former mayor of Mulgrave. But can you talk a little bit about Ralph and about what he has done for the town and specifically for yourself as a new councillor during the last 4 years?
Well, what can I say about Ralph? Ralph, I feel very like a kindred spirit with Ralph. We both have that passion and that fire, and we're not afraid to spark that fire when the situation comes up. Ralph wouldn't give us an answer of yes or no if he was going to to run again. So we kind of figured that. I mean, Ralph put 30 years into the fire department, and he's got 20 plus years into council. And I had to think that we robbed, his daughter Cora and his son Matthew and his wife Burl a lot of time, where Burl had the children home and where Ralph was off volunteering for many, many years, and he probably missed a lot. And I think I'm not going to lie, I was just deflated when he told me he wasn't running again.
Oh.
I was very deflated, but then I had to say, you know what? This is what's best for Ralph and his family. And we had him long enough, and now it's time for us to give him back to his family, to enjoy his grandchildren and his retirement with his wife. I don't think this is the end of Ralph Hadley.
No.
He's going to still be involved, I really hope, very much as either consulting or back in some degree. But it's I wish him. I grew up with Ralph, and I grew up with his younger brothers, and he has brothers married to family members of mine, and it's a small community, so I feel more Ralph's my brother, than he's the mayor. So. And I can speak to him just as a brother would. We didn't always agree at the table, and but I knew at the end of our session we could sit down and shake hands or hug and laugh about it, and say, not brother and sister don't always agree.
No, that's true.
And difference of opinion is a good thing. So I'm really personally going to miss Ralph beside me. I'm looking forward to the run between Ronnie Chisholm and Lorne MacDonald. They both are going to bring two different, I think, aspects to the table, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, they're both formidable candidates, and they both have their experience throughout the last 10 years, and Lorne's experience goes back even farther than that. So it's going to be interesting either way to see who comes out and what vision that they bring for the town of Mulgrave going forward.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask you about your thoughts on Mulgrave as a town itself. Now, you brought up just a few minutes ago, you came into council at a time when Mulgrave had planned to seek amalgamation with the nearby municipality of the District of Guysborough. My recollection there is that that deal collapsed because the warden at the time, Vernon Pitts, and his council felt that they didn't have enough information to be able to go forward, and so Mulgrave moved on as a town. It's 4 years later now. How do you think Mulgrave is doing overall? What do you think we have to look forward to in the future? And is it a difficult slog ahead, do you feel? Or are you looking forward to what could happen as a result of new people with new ideas coming in, like yourself?
Well, I think one of the best decisions we ever made was to hire Darlene Sampson-Berkey. Darlene she came with just a list of accolades that were just stellar. She had, a background in, of course, finance, but she also had a background in economic development, social enterprising. She just came with so much to the table, and she's got that fire in her too.
Yeah.
So she came in here and she fell in love with us, and we fell in love with her. I can't say enough good about Darlene. I just think she is one of the best people I've ever met in my life. I really, really, really enjoy working with her all the time. Again, we don't always agree, but at the end of the day, we're always looking for the best decision moving forward. We got to think of the future. We got to think we're not always going to be sitting at this table. So the decisions we make, whether it's the $7.3 million for our new wastewater and force main upgrade, we got to think about in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that that's still sustainable. You know, we're working on a lot of big projects right now, and you know, we have such a great team. And then we got Tom Isaac for our public works superintendent, and he is just, I cannot say enough good. We just have the best team right now I've ever seen. And I don't know if I'm a little impartial because I'm on that team, but everybody's works really well together now. We have a student that we rehired, Caitlin Keeping. She finished her degree and she's going back to school to take her 2 years of teaching. So she's returning for us part-time, and her and Darlene are like two peas in a pod. And so it's really has helped alleviate some of the small things that Darlene doesn't have to spend time on now. She can just kind of, you know, give it to Caitlin. And so we have such a great team. We have, of course, Kathy Hearn and Debbie King have been, I think they have 40 plus years. Yes. So they, you know, the experience that they bring, it's just, and we rely on them a lot. You know, why do people do it this way? Why are you paying it that way? And we've changed a lot of things, and Debbie and Kathy have just gone with the flow. In 2016, when I first came in, before Darlene came here, we did a lot of things in town, as many probably small towns do. It becomes almost a practice. You do things just because it's always been done that way. And Darlene came in with a history and a background of risk management. So she was saying, just because, you know, people are doing it and it's acceptable doesn't mean that it's best practice. So let's make some best practice policies and procedures. And sometimes, you know, that it hurt a little bit. But at the end of the day, again, we have to think of the future, and we have to think, if we're not here, we need to go forward. And the people that are sitting in our seats can look at what we've done and say, wow, they laid the groundwork. So we're just building that foundation for someone to take over. And I think that's, you know, I don't think I'll be in council forever. I don't know. I could be. But I just want to lay the foundation for that if I leave or if I'm not elected the next time, that foundation is there for someone to grow on.
Wise person once said that there are few things more noble than someone willing to lay the groundwork for a project whose fruition they may not even live to see.
That's right.
So it's good to hear that you have that kind of mindset, and that your fellow councillors have as well too, and employees. I'll point out as well, we've had Darlene Berthier-Sampson as a guest here on Telile 24/7, and so you don't have to convince me about the fire in her belly for her job as CAO. So yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't say enough good about her.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about a venture that you've been doing for a few months now, and this ties into the idea of development of Mulgrave's assets, because you're set up at the former school building. It was Mulgrave Memorial Education Center. It's now Mulgrave Memorial Center. Yeah. And you have the Scotia Cafe running. You're serving food and beverages there. And I want to ask you if you can tell me a little bit about that and how you think that speaks to the idea that that school building could serve far more than it actually does right now. It could wind up being a real center for the town.
Yes, so we were, of course, you probably know a little bit of the story, that when the school closed, it was given to us. You know, the keys were handed over, and here we were with this huge, humongous building, 12 full classrooms, plus in the cafeteria and office buildings and an auditorium, and we're like, you know, and of course, the people in town were saying, just tear it down, and we're like, it costs, you know, we looked into it, and it cost $600,000 to tear it down. We don't have that money. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot of, we got in contact with St. FX, and we did feasibility studies, and we got in contact with co-op, and they come in and said, you know, we inquired about grocery stores and convenience stores, and we had a few private people come in that looked at, to try to do some housing, for seniors. And, we really branched out and put our fingers everywhere to see what we can do. So we developed a committee, and it is called the Mulgrave and Area Revitalization Association.
Yes.
We call it MARA for short, because that's a big mouthful.
It's a mouthful, yes.
It is. So I'm on this committee, and I said we had this beautiful cafeteria. We had spent all, I want to say, winter painting, cleaning, scrubbing, replacing lights. Me and Bob, the deputy mayor, Bob Russell, he's just a trooper. We spent a lot of weekends, a lot of evenings, and a lot of days up there painting and scrubbing. And so I brought this to the table for the MAR committee, and I said, why don't we see if we can do this cafe and, see if it'll go. So they decided to give me a small budget, and I took that budget and bought food, and we bought a few supplies, and we just went. Me and a few volunteers, and we just ran with it. And we were just, up and running, and then COVID hit in March.
Yeah.
And we had just made a huge order, and we had like $2,000 worth of inventory, and we couldn't sell anything. So here I was having to answer to, the board and the committee. And so anyway, we waited until, of course, the cases went down. Some of the food was starting to expire.
I would imagine.
Or getting close to expiry. So now we were, I had to learn about bookkeeping and costs and stuff like that. So we actually sold off a lot of the soon-to-be expired product to the committee members or people in our close circle. So anyway, make them a long story short, we came back on board in June and started takeout only, just through a window, and we respected all the, the social distancing from the Premier and Dr. Strang. And it took us a couple months, but we finally got out of the red and have been very successful since then.
Good.
So it just goes to show that even in a pandemic, that the spirit here in Mulgrave is just, it's just a spark that is just unbelievable, that people come out and supported us, and we get the same people every week coming to buy. And so we're very happy. It was a very successful year. We're just getting ready to shut down because now, of course, kids are back in school, and vacations are over. So we and our volunteers need a break. So they've been working pretty tight out since June. And a lot of them are seniors. So I said, let's just close down for now, and we'll go back to the committee, see what they think, and see if they want us to do it again next year. But it was very successful. And it just goes to show that even in a pandemic, hard work,
Well, I wanted to pick up on that a little bit because you made a point about having customer loyalty through all this and, getting your regulars, but also getting the support of the community. And I wonder if you could just speak to that a little bit as we start to wind down here, because I think your experience speaks volumes about what Mulgrave is, that the residents support their own, that they rally around their own, even during a pandemic, and you could even say especially during a pandemic, because that's often what brings out the best in people. So can you tell a little bit about what it was like for you and your volunteers being behind the counter and watching these faces coming in and saying, we're here to support you and we want our lunch from you?
Yes, so we have, I think it all stemmed from our seniors club. So we have a New Horizons group here, and we have about 25 regular seniors that come, and they come every week. And you know what? It is the highlight of my week because they come in and they're so grateful for everything, and they're so happy, and they laugh. And there's nothing in this world that makes me more happy than hearing children or older people laugh, or anybody laugh. So they're always a fun group, and they love to play beanbag or wash or toss, and they're very competitive. And I try to beat them, and I can't. So they're very good as well. And they were the catalyst So they were the ones that were sparking everybody else, and they were the catalyst behind coming every week and supporting us every week. And as everybody's seeing these seniors coming to support us, then we were getting more and more. And then we had almost 50 people, faithfully coming every Thursday.
Wow.
And, it was just amazing. And, if I had anybody to owe it to, it's the seniors, because they support us week after week.
Mm.
I love
Well,
those guys.
it's wonderful to hear that, and good to hear we've touched on younger municipal councilors coming in and gone all the way up to the seniors that have been some of your most loyal customers. So that spirit of Mulgrave goes from one end of the spectrum to the other, touches every age, every demographic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. We've covered a lot of ground in a short time here, Tanya, and I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me. Did you want to add anything else about all of this just before we wrap up?
I don't think so, Adam. I think I've rambled on enough.
At Telile 24/7, we appreciate a good ramble, Tanya. No trouble at all. Well, listen.
Thank you for taking the time.
No trouble.
I really appreciate it. You're an incredible entertainer. I love following you, especially when you're in the Strait area. So just know that I'm one of your biggest fans, and I watch your show online all the time.
Well, we appreciate that very much, and I have to tell you, keep doing interviews like this with us, and we're going to be among your biggest fans as well. So
perfect.
Yeah, that works out terrific. Well, thank you again. Congratulations on being acclaimed to a second term for Mulgrave Town Council. We look forward to catching up with you again very, very soon.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
No trouble at all. Our guest has been Tanya Snow, who has just been acclaimed to her second term on Mulgrave Town Council. She's been speaking to us from her home via Zoom. Stay tuned. We've got more Telile 24/7 coming up for you in just a moment. If you've been watching Telile 24/7 for a while, you might remember that one of our very first stories was about a new committee that's designed to bring new physicians to the Strait area. It's called Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health. And one of the newest hires for that committee made an appearance at the Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Council on Monday night. Her name is Maggie McDonald. She is the new Health Recruitment Navigator for the Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health Committee. I thought it might be helpful for you to get a look at her presentation to Council and to hear some questions answered by councillors, as well as the answers given by both Maggie McDonald herself and another member of the Recruiting for Health Committee, Dr. Dorothy Barnard. She, of course, has been working for many years out of the Kingston Health Memorial Project in Lordways. So let's hear from Maggie McDonald, Dr. Barnard, and from municipal councillors Alvin Martel and Jason McLean as part of this next segment from Richmond Council's Committee of the Whole.
So we actually have around 36 members of our group. So some of the representatives we have are from the following organizations. So I'll just list some, they're not all here, but the Town of Port Hawkesbury, Municipality of Richmond County, Strait Richmond Hospital, the Dr. Kingston Memorial Community Health Center, St. Anne's Community and Nursing Care Center, the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce, Cape Breton Partnership, Potlatech Health Center, Continuing Care Nova Scotia, Island Gateway Medical Clinic, the Arishack Clinic, Richmond Villa, and other physicians and health professionals in the area. So this group has made some pretty big strides from being so new and just starting in January. So one of the first tasks they have completed is hiring a new healthcare recruitment navigator. So this is when I joined the team. I started at the end of July. So what made me interested in this position was my past experience for advocating with communities for better accessibility. So my background is on the support worker side of healthcare, and I worked a lot with adults with disabilities. So a couple of other things we have been working on is developing our online presence through our website development and establishing relationships in the community. So we are very close to launching our website this month. We've hired a Vibe Creative Group to help us build our online presence. Our goal was to create something that would showcase our communities and what living in Strait Richmond area looks like. So the website will be a great resource to gather information on the area. People will be able to view job postings related to healthcare and events. So it's another place where physicians will be able to contact me directly. Since we are using a collaborative approach, networking is a key part of my position. So far, we've built relationships with other navigators across the province, Nova Scotia Health Authority recruiters, healthcare organizations, and valuable community members. We've made contacts in the community who will better assist us with things we need, like housing, if people are interested in recreational activities, and joining different committees and things like that. Thankfully, I'm not alone. Nova Scotia has a lot of other navigators. So I made a map here that points out a few. So I believe I'm the only one in Cape Breton, and then we have some as far as Yarmouth. So some are very new to the role. There's another girl who joined, and Anna Ganesh has actually just put out a notice that they'll be hiring one as well. So we plan to host local recruitment events, attend physician job fairs virtually and in person, promote our communities and our online presence, advocate for the healthcare needs of our community members, reach out to local healthcare students and support them through their education journey, and continue supporting the healthcare professionals we have here working with us now in our communities. So currently we're planning a clinic crawl to the area that takes place on the 20th. And I'm registered as well to partake in the Dalhousie Family Medicine Conference that was moved online on the 25th. And so we plan to advocate at these events, show off the education systems we have to offer, our low cost of housing, activities we have year-round, lots of things. So although our focus is committed to recruitment and retention of all healthcare professionals, we do see a need right now for family physicians in the area. So this is a list that I did with some of the family physicians and where they work. You can see a lot of them kind of cross over and help each other out at the Straight Hospital there. And Nova Scotia Health is actually hiring 4 new positions, so 2 in Richmond County and 2 in the town of Port Hawkesbury for full-time family doctors. So I just wanted to end my presentation by showing you the secured funding that we have to date. So this is an ongoing process, and we do intend to have the position around for the long term. And just to thank you again, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with Richmond County in the future.
Is that a full slate of physicians that the province will allow, or is there a room for more physicians to come into the Richmond Strait area?
Positions, 2 in Port Hawkesbury and 2 in Richmond County area. So I think some of that is based on the fact that there are probably imminent retirements, and there is a question about whether some or one in particular physician is leaving the area in the spring.
So right now there's no room with the ones that haven't yet retired, is that what you're saying?
No, there are 4 open positions that we can recruit for. I think what they're counting on is that it takes a long time to get a physician in an area. So they're giving us some lead time to actually recruit for here.
I just have a comment that certainly the committee has done some fabulous work. If you look at the progress to date with the presentation tonight, it looks like they're making tremendous gains in an area where it's certainly needed here in Richmond and the Strait area for sure. So the committee and the people that sat around the table and made this possible and need to be commended for doing that.
I do sit on the committee, and I know we started back in January, which seems like eons ago. In the pandemic world, it seems like so long ago, but really it's not that long. And to think about all of the work that was done when we started and the conversations and just really seeing things come to fruition, such as Maggie's position and the work that Maggie does. You know, I do get to see it on a bi-weekly basis when we're having our meetings, and it's something that I think everybody should be very proud of. And it's such important work within our communities to make sure that we're not only looking to do whatever we can to bring in, you know, doctors, but focus is, as Maggie mentioned, not just on doctors, it's on all healthcare professionals. And I think there's certainly room for improvement with the job we all can do and hopefully will do. Maggie, the work that you've done has been a pleasure to watch. You're a tremendous asset to all of our communities, and it's certainly not just one community. It's from one end of Richmond County right to the other, inclusive of the town of Port Hawkesbury. So it's nice to see that collaboration, the work that you're doing, and I really hope to see it continue. And any conversations that I either will have or hope to have around the council table will always be supportive of this.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with all of you, and I hope to get to know more of you as well as time goes on.
Another issue that took up considerable time at Monday's Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Municipal Council was that of legal issues that had been brought against the municipality over the past 4 years. At Monday's Committee of the Whole meeting, Municipal Councilor Jason McLean took the opportunity during a review of checks issued in June, July, and August to point out that the legal firm Cox and Palmer had been retained by Richmond Municipal Council to settle an issue in the summer. So here's some conversation between McLean, Warden Brian Marchand, District 1 Councillor James Goyesh, and the County CAO Don Marchand about what exactly that means, and McLean's attempt to get a review of all municipal council legal issues and legal fees since 2016.
I'm talking about the question that I just asked you right now, very specifically about a check that was issued on June 18th, 2020 for $9,324.86, Cox and Palmer.
Okay, I know what it is. It just registered in my brain. That is a fee that we paid to Cox and Palmer for defense of a small claims court, conflict of interest charge on 2 councillors. That was a motion that was made at council, and it was approved through council, and we paid it.
So that was tax dollars that went towards a personal lawyer fee paid for by taxpayers. Correct?
It was paid through the municipality as a result of a motion in council.
Yeah, it was. I remember that.
Okay, so
but I don't remember.
That's all I can tell you.
I don't remember any motion being made to engage Cox and Palmer and bring them into the municipality as far as anything like that was related.
I believe those items were discussed in camera.
Okay, but again,
Yeah.
there was a motion that was made when we came out of being in camera. This is money that's being paid out of our tax dollars, and the residents all have to pay for this. So I'm just wanting to know what it was for.
Okay.
I just told you.
Okay.
You were told what it was for, Jason.
Okay, thank you. So what I would like, now that's when I saw that sort of resonated with me from quite some time ago. I believe it was in April of 2019. A resident asked something to the effect of how many different lawyers and legal teams do we employ or engage, and what would be the total of all the legal fees that the municipality has had to pay for X amount of time. And Warden, you had stated that you were going to get that information to that person. Has that happened?
That information, we had gotten that information, and I don't remember, Jason, if I had emailed that person. I believe I did. I believe that was Lisa Boudreau that had asked. And I believe I did, but I would have to check.
Okay.
I recall providing that information, Brian.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I emailed or texted to her.
So you did provide her with that information?
Yeah, I believe I did.
Okay, well, we can check into that and make sure that she did receive that. So on the heels of that, I would like to make a motion that staff prepare a report for legal services acquired by the municipality and the associated costs between September of 2016 to September of 2020. And I would like to have that presented at our regular council in 2 weeks.
Okay, is there any seconder on that? Is there any seconder on that motion? Going 3 times. Is there any seconder on that motion? Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what's funny. Like, we just have a discussion about bringing Telile in for transparency. That's one of the things that they said, to help Richmond County move towards transparency. So what we're talking about are taxpayers' dollars going towards legal fees. Every single person just said they want Telile to record the meetings and have access to them so that we can share that with the public, and we're going to be transparent. Yet nobody will second that motion.
Mr. Chairman, we're dealing with the review of checks issue. Now, Jason, if you have any questions that you want to ask, I'd like to be told beforehand of what exactly you're talking about. And I don't think it's right for anybody, any of us councillors here. Now, when you review of checks, that's what it says, review of checks issue. If you have things that you want to bring up from the past, from 2016 to 2020, let me know before I come to this meeting. Now, when I see the agenda, there's no such thing there that says anything about lawyers' fees or anything. And I'm one that it's open and transparent. If there's any member of the public that wants any information as far as legal fees or anything they want to find out, just give me a call at home and I'll get the answer for them. That's why I'm there as a councillor.
So what's
I don't
the difference?
intend to come here. We're talking about reviews of checks issue. And
I
this
am.
has got nothing to do with review of checks issue. There's no checks issue 2016 to 2020 on this list.
You're wrong. It certainly does have something to do with checks issued. If you want me to call you to have an individual conversation, I'm not doing that. Our meetings are here for all of us to be on the same page so that we're talking about the same issue and the same discussion all in one.
And that wraps up this week's edition of Telile 24/7. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Thanks as well to our interview guest this week, Mulgrave Town Councilor Tanya Snow. And a big thank you to all my colleagues at Telile Community Television for helping me with the footage for this week's episode. If you have any comments or thoughts about what you've seen over the past hour, or if you'd like to suggest future story ideas, interview guests, or feature subjects for future editions of Telile 24/7, there are several different ways to contact us. You can reach Telile directly at 902-226-1928. You can also call me directly. That number is 902-625-8863. Or you can reach me by email. That address is adamjrcook, cook with an E, @yahoo.ca. Feel free as well to follow us on social media. Telile is now on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you go to Telile's YouTube channel, you can see every single episode of Telile 24/7. You can also see individual stories and interviews from the show, as well as municipal council meetings, now that we're broadcasting those again. And you can check out all kinds of great features ranging from everything from music to human interest that my friends at Telile have been putting together over the past few months. There's lots of great stuff on there, so check it out. For now, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you very much for joining me for Telile 24/7. I look forward to seeing you again very soon for next week's episode.